It's Wednesday, September 18th, and this is the Daily Medical News by MD Edge, where we bring you the day's top stories in clinical medicine, as well as an in-depth look at the day's biggest story. I'm Nick Andrews.
And I'm Molly Collegio. Today, a carcinogen in mint and menthol-flavored e-liquids exceeds FDA limits.
Dapagliflozin earns fast-track status from the FDA for heart failure therapy.
The benefits of peanut desensitization therapy may not be durable.
And most patients with radiologically isolated syndrome converted to multiple sclerosis within 10 years.
Plus, wildfire smoke has an acute cardiorespiratory impact, but the long-term effects are still unclear.
Mint and menthol-flavored e-liquids and smokeless tobacco products contained significantly more of the known carcinogen Pulegone than the FDA considers acceptable. Pulegone is an oil extract from mint plants such as peppermint, spearmint, and pennyroyal. The FDA banned it as a food additive in 2018, and the tobacco industry has taken steps to minimize Pulegone levels in cigarettes. But CDC studies have shown that mint and menthol-flavored e-cigarette liquids and smokeless tobacco products marketed in the U.S. contained substantial amounts of Pulegone. In an analysis by Duke University researchers, 6 products had Pulegone concentration levels ranging from 26 to 119 micrograms per gram. In comparison, a menthol cigarette has up to 0.3 micrograms per gram. Based on those levels, light daily use exposed e-cigarette users to 44 to 198 times more Pulegone than menthol cigarettes. For heavy daily use, e-cigarette users were exposed to 282 more than 1,600 times more Pulegone compared with menthol cigarettes. These findings appear in JAMA Internal Medicine.
Dapagliflozin is officially on the fast track for approval to reduce cardiovascular death risk or disease progression in patients with heart failure with reduced ejection fraction or preserved ejection fraction. The FDA granted the diabetes drug Fast Track designation based on results from 2 phase 3 trials that assessed dapagliflozin in heart failure patients. The FDA Fast Track process is designed to speed the development and review of drugs to treat serious conditions and fill unmet medical needs. The sodium glucose transporter 2 inhibitor is already approved as monotherapy and as part of combination therapy to improve glycemic control in adults with type 2 diabetes. The FDA granted it Fast Track designation in August 2019 as a therapy for chronic renal disease.
About 1/3 of peanut allergic patients given oral immunotherapy passed a peanut challenge when the therapy was reduced. But stopping therapy increased the risk of becoming sensitive again. That's according to data from a phase 2 randomized trial of people with confirmed peanut allergies. Stanford University researchers in California randomly assigned 120 patients to one of 3 regimens: placebo, or to a maintenance dose of 4,000 milligrams of peanut protein for 2 years, which was then followed up by either complete discontinuation or by a 300 milligram maintenance dose. 1 year after stopping the 4,000 milligram dose, 13% of those who stopped treatment completely passed the peanut challenge, while only 4% of the placebo group did. But 37% of those who'd continued on the reduced peanut protein dose of 300 milligrams passed the challenge after 1 year. These data appear in The Lancet. And we'll be right back with more of the day's top medical stories after this message.
More than half of patients with radiologically isolated syndrome converted to multiple sclerosis within 10 years of an initial abnormal MRI. That's according to a study by researchers at the University of Nice in France. They reported the results at the annual Congress of the European Committee for Treatment and Research in Multiple Sclerosis. The likelihood of developing MS rose stepwise with the number of risk factors present at baseline. Patients with none or one of 4 risk factors at baseline had a 29% conversion rate at 10 years. Patients with all 4 risk factors, however, had an 87% conversion rate by 10 years. The investigators say mounting conversions to MS over time suggests that radiologically isolated syndrome is part of the MS spectrum. Given that, they strongly recommend yearly monitoring of patients with the syndrome.
And finally today, the 2019 wildfire season is underway in many places across the United States, exposing millions of people to health consequences ranging from stinging eyes to a trip to the emergency department for asthma or COPD exacerbations. Wildfire smoke can contain a wide range of substances, chemicals, and gases with known and unknown cardiorespiratory implications. And as the season intensifies, many physicians and patients who live with cardiorespiratory conditions have questions about the long-term health impacts. Dr. John Balmes is a pulmonologist at the University of California in San Francisco. He says the literature points to pretty strong evidence for acute effects of wildfire smoke on respiratory health. That means people with pre-existing asthma and COPD are at risk for exacerbations and probably respiratory tract infections as well. Dr. Wayne Cascio directs the EPA's National Health and Environmental Effects Research Laboratory. After a wildfire in 2008 scorched 41,000 acres near his North Carolina community, Dr. Cascio and his colleagues found that the exposure to the wildfire smoke led to increases in the cumulative risk ratio for asthma, COPD, and pneumonia, and acute bronchitis. Those early findings have been replicated in subsequent research about the acute health effects of exposure to wildfire smoke. When it comes to the long-term effects of wildfire smoke, however, much less is known. But Dr. Cascio says better communication with people living in areas affected by wildfire smoke could help prevent poor outcomes later. He cautions that doctors don't have time to educate all of their patients in their offices, but encouraging those at greatest risk to take preventative steps, such as doing HEPA filter treatment in their homes, would probably reduce the number of clinical events in a cost-effective way. And that's it for today's Daily Medical News. Remember to check out the latest episode of the Psychcast by MD Edge, with new episodes dropping every Wednesday. For MD Edge, I'm Nick Andrews.
And I'm Molly Collegio. Thanks for listening.